You know that feeling, right? You're on a roller coaster or maybe in a plane making a steep turn, and you feel yourself getting pushed down into your seat. That's G-force. And yeah, it's a ton of fun at an amusement park. But for a pilot, misunderstanding what really causes it can be absolutely deadly. So let's clear the air and separate the myths from the reality.
So let me ask you, what do you think is the single most misunderstood force in all of flying? Well, you might be surprised to hear it's the one we actually feel the most directly, G-load, or to get technical for a second, what we call the load factor.
All right, let's dive right in with what pretty much every pilot is taught from day one. It's a belief that's so ingrained in early training that we almost never question it. And that's the myth that your bank angle is what creates G-force. I'm willing to bet most pilots have seen a chart exactly like this one. I mean, it seems super straightforward, doesn't it? On one side, you've got your bank angle. On the other, the G-load. And the line goes up and to the right. The steeper you bank, the more G's you pull. It looks like a classic cause and effect relationship.
And just look at the numbers. A 60-degree bank corresponds to exactly 2 G's. It seems like a fundamental law of physics, right? You bank to 60 degrees and bam, you feel twice your normal weight. It's clean, it's simple. But what if I told you that this chart and the whole idea behind it is actually really misleading? Let's really put that myth to the test. Because it turns out it's not about the bank angle itself. Nope, it's about something else the pilot is doing. To prove it, we're going to run through 2 really simple thought experiments that'll completely turn this idea on its head. Okay, for our first experiment, let's just forget about banking entirely. Picture this. You're flying straight and level, wings perfectly flat against the horizon. Now, what do you think happens if you just pull back on the controls, bring the nose up, without banking even a single degree?
The G-meter jumps, it goes right up to 1.7 Gs. And just like that, we've created a pretty significant G-load with 0 degrees of bank. That one little maneuver proves it right there. Banking is not the cause.
All right, so now let's try the complete opposite. Let's do exactly what that chart seems to tell us should create G's. We're going to roll into a nice, steep 45-degree bank. But here's the twist. This time, we are not going to pull back on the controls. We're just going to let the nose do whatever it wants. So what happens to the G-load now? Absolutely nothing. The G-meter just sits there, bored, right at 1 G. We're in this steep bank, but because we didn't pull back, there's no extra load, no extra G-force. The airplane just starts slipping down toward the ground. This is the nail in the coffin. The bank angle by itself causes nothing.
So, if it's not the bank angle, then what in the world is the true source of G-force? Well, this is the big aha moment. It all comes down to one single fundamental thing: lift.
So let's get a really clear definition down. What we pilots feel as G-force is technically called load factor. And the definition is actually beautifully simple. It's just the ratio of the total lift your wings are producing compared to the total weight of your aircraft. So sitting here at 1 G, lift equals weight. At 2 Gs, your wings are producing twice the aircraft's weight in lift. G-force is just a direct measurement of how hard your wings are working. That's it.
Okay, so this is what's really happening when you make that turn. As soon as you bank, that lift force, which normally points straight up, gets tilted sideways. Now, part of it is turning the plane, which is great, but the problem is less of it is pointing up. So the vertical part of your lift no longer equals your weight, and you start to descend. To stop that descent and stay in a level turn, what does the pilot have to do? You got it. You have to pull back on the controls. That action increases the wing's angle of attack, which forces it to generate more total lift. And that extra lift is what you feel as G-force. The bank just created a problem that the pilot had to solve by pulling and creating more lift.
So now we get the what, but let's talk about the why this matters so much. Misunderstanding this isn't just some academic mistake. It leads directly to 2 of the absolute biggest dangers in all of aviation. The 2 big bogeymen here are accelerated stalls and structural failure. In an accelerated stall, the high G-load basically makes the wing give up and stop flying at a much, much higher speed than you'd expect. And structural failure? Well, that's exactly what it sounds like. You literally pull so many Gs that you break the airplane. This right here is a terrifyingly important number. At just 2 Gs, that 60-degree bank, your stall speed shoots up by 41%. Now imagine you're flying low and slow, maybe in the airport traffic pattern, and you have to make a steep turn to avoid another plane. You might glance at your airspeed and think you're totally fine, but that G-load could cause the wings to stall right then and there, with zero altitude to recover. It's a classic trap.
And then there's the airplane itself. Every single aircraft has a hard structural limit. For most of the training planes we fly, in what's called the normal category, that limit is plus 3.8 Gs. And if you go back and look at that chart, a level turn at a 75-degree bank hits that limit exactly. Exceeding these numbers isn't a suggestion. It's how you cause catastrophic in-flight failure. So to protect us from ourselves, pilots have a critical airspeed we have to know called maneuvering speed, or VA. And that little A is the key. It stands for acceleration. Why? Because as we just saw, pulling back on the controls accelerates the airplane vertically, and that's what creates the G-load. VA is basically the speed that draws a line in the sand between safety and danger. And here is the difference that can save your life. If you are flying below VA and you yank back on the controls as hard as you can, the wing is designed to stall before it breaks. It gives up aerodynamically before it fails structurally. But if you are flying above VA, the wing is so effective that it's capable of generating enough lift to exceed its G limit before it has a chance to stall. You can literally break the wings off. And this is exactly why VA isn't just a fixed green line on your airspeed indicator. It actually changes with your weight. A lighter airplane is easier to accelerate upwards, so its structural safety speed, its VA, is actually lower.
So how do we wrap all this knowledge up and use it to actually fly safer? Well, it all comes together in one of the most critical emergency procedures a pilot can ever learn, the unusual attitude recovery. So imagine you get distracted and find yourself in a steep diving turn. Your gut instinct, your animal brain, is screaming at you to pull back. But now you know better. Pulling back while you're in a bank is how you create a massive, dangerous, wing-breaking G-load. The correct procedure is, first, power to idle to keep your speed from running away. Then, and this is everything, roll the wings level first. Unload the wings. Get yourself back to 1G. And only then do you gently pull up to recover from the dive. This whole procedure is a direct application of understanding that lift, and the pilot's control of it, is the real cause of Gs. And really, that's what this all boils down to. When you're up there, there's no room for myths or misunderstandings. The laws of physics are completely unforgiving, which really leaves all of us with one critical question to ask ourselves. Is our understanding truly sharp enough to keep us safe?